Hey guys, we've made it to the last week of virtual learning, week 7. You did it. You need to print this note sheet off before you get started or copy along with me during the videos. My kids, these notes need to go on page 7 in your table of contents underneath Unit 5 Geometry. And before we even get started on the actual topic for today, I want us to define trigonometry together. So trigonometry is just the branch of math that studies the relationship between, I'm going to abbreviate, side lengths and angles of a triangle. Okay? So we are talking about the relationship between different sides and different angles in a triangle. Okay, that's all trigonometry is. Trig has a bad rep. A lot of your parents are probably like, oh, I hated trig in high school. But that's because they didn't have all the cutesy, corny methods back then that we have now. So I love trig. I feel like you guys will be fine with trig. If you're not, you know how to reach me though. So today, we're just talking about trigonometric ratios. Okay. So all we're going to be doing today is defining the different trig functions that we use in Math 2 and Math 3. There are more, and you'll learn about those in pre-cal. If you have pre-cal, that'll be awesome. But we're going to define the different trig functions. We're going to learn how you use the different sides of a triangle to find those trig functions, and then we're going to actually practice, okay? So before we get started on our little table that we've made for y'all, over here on the right hand side, I want you guys to look at the angle that they've given us, okay? We don't ever use the right angle for trigonometry. I will post a video that tells you why if you want to get into all of that, because there's cool proofs for it and stuff, but I'm not going to waste your time with that now. But they've marked theta, which basically is just a variable for an angle. They've marked this angle right here. So in response, in correspondence to this yellow angle, the side that is all the way across from it and doesn't touch it, that's called the opposite side. Okay? Now, hopefully you guys remember from yesterday when we did Pythagorean theorem that the longest side, the side that's across from the right angle, right? That is always the hypotenuse, and most of you knew that yesterday from middle school, okay? And so then that just leaves us the other leg of the right triangle, because these are the two legs. This leg that touches the angle, well, we learned a couple of weeks ago that when angles or sides are touching, we call those adjacent, okay? So it's important when you're doing all of this to first, I'm going to put step 1 right here, identify your opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse sides, okay? That's your first step. Anytime you're doing any kind of trig problem, you need to identify what side you have or what the different sides are, okay? So again, this side is all the way across from the angle, doesn't touch it. So that's the opposite side. The hypotenuse, you guys know, is always the longest side across from the right angle. And then the side, the third side, the leg that's touching the angle, we call adjacent, okay? All right, so there are 3 trig words that we use in Math 2. The first word being sine, okay? Now, the symbol for sine, or the abbreviation, is SIN, okay? So sine of, now this part's important, the angle. Whenever you're doing trig, you're always taking the trig function of the angle, because the angle is your starting point. That determines the sides. So this is the sine of the angle. It is not sin. We are not in church, though the Lord walks with you always, those of you that believe, okay? This is not sin. Do not say sin. If you come to me in pre-cal saying sin, I'm going to make fun of you. Sine, that is the trig function. So this is the sine of the angle. And to find the sine of the angle, our definition, I don't really call it a definition, I call it a rule. To find the sine, we are going to take the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So there's a reason why this says trigonometric ratios. This is just a ratio. So one more time, to find the sine of the angle, we're going to do the opposite side over the hypotenuse, or the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. Okay? All right, so next up, I'll use the same color. Our next trig function is cosine. Okay, the abbreviation for cosine is COS. It's not cos though, you still say cosine, okay? And then to find the cosine of whatever angle we're given, we're going to do the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. All right? Now, the way I used to remember this one in school, co means they go together, right? Like if you are co-captains, you captain together on a sports team. So adjacent also means side by side together. That's how I used to remember it. I'll give you another corny way to remember it in a minute, okay? So the last trig function we use in math 2 is the tangent, all right? And we abbreviate that TAN. Yes, it says tan, but we are not at the beach right now. I wish we were. This is tangent still, so don't say tan, tangent, okay? And the tangent of the angle can be found by doing the opposite side over the adjacent side. All right? So there is a corny phrase that goes with this that will help you remember the different rules, okay? So the saying is, let's see, where do I want to put it? I'll put it right here. Some old hippie caught another hippie tripping on acid. And you're like, what in the world, Miss Poole? I did not come up with that. I wish I had, because it's very clever and it helps children everywhere, all over the world. But some old hippie stands for sine because it has an S, right? So for sine, check this out. For sine, we're going to do the opposite side. There's O, over the hypotenuse. Okay? Sine, opposite over a hypotenuse. Some old hippie. So if you can remember some old hippie, then for sine, you're doing the opposite side over the hypotenuse. All right? Now, caught starts with C, so does cosine. So this one's for cosine. Caught another hippie. All right? Cosine is the adjacent side, A, over the hypotenuse, H. So some old hippie is sine. Caught another hippie is cosine. Tripping on acid is tangent, because tripping starts with T, so tangent is the opposite side O on over the adjacent side A, acid, all right? So if you can remember, some old hippie caught another hippie tripping on acid. Yes, it's funny. Not really though, he has a problem. But that will help you with trig ratios, okay? Now, down here, the symbol theta, and that's how it's spelled, it's just a Greek letter, okay, is used to refer to angles or indicated angles. So wherever you see theta, that is the angle they want you to use. So that is the indicated angle, all right? Hopefully that kind of makes some sense, but if not, I'm about to do 3 examples with you, and